Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Memorial Day weekend. I know lots of people are getting ready for those barbecues and going out on the boats. We've got absolutely wonderful weather. Thank God the air conditioning is fixed in here, so we've got a lot to be grateful for this weekend. You know, the Unity theme for this month is honoring memories. We are now and forevermore in the love of God. And I can't help but reflect upon Memorial Day. When I was young, I was raised in Washington, D.C. I had relatives in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. And my grandmother, who lived in rural Maryland, used to take us every single Memorial Day, which way back used to be called Decoration Day. And it was called Decoration Day because they decorated the graves not only of the veterans, but of everyone in the family. That was when I was really able to connect with her parents, who had transitioned. Actually, my great-grandmother transitioned just a year or two before I was born, and her siblings and other family members who I never actually got to physically meet. But she would share stories about them and tell about their lives. And then, of course, there were the veterans, because having been raised in Washington, D.C., my dad used to take me and my brother to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And I was laughing earlier this morning with some people about how, as a kid, I never fully understood who was in this grave of the unknown soldier. How come you didn't know his name? But I eventually came to understand all of that. But I learned to honor the shoes that these people walked in, the shoes of my ancestors, the shoes of family members who I never got to meet, the shoes of those veterans who marched to war, who defended our country, who defended who we are. And then, as I grew older, I came to understand shoes have a lot of meaning. Shoes represent a lot of things to a lot of people. And Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, wrote these words about shoes. His metaphysical definition of shoes. He said, shoes represent the words with which understanding of the truth is clothed. Think about that. Our shoes are a metaphysical representation of our truth. And in another book that he wrote, The Mysteries of John, Charles Fillmore said this about feet. Feet are the willing and patient servants of the body. They go all day long at the bidding of the mind, and upon them rest many of the burdens that result from material thoughts. What we think about, we bring about. It is the law of attraction. In Unity, we talk about it all the time. All the time. So let's look at the shoes that we've been wearing throughout our lives. We start out as babies. And our baby shoes. Can I have the next slide, please? Our baby shoes. We all have them. At one point in time, we all had baby shoes. In some families, the first pair of shoes that a baby actually walks in, the shoes that the baby takes their first steps in, The parents will have them dipped in bronze, and they keep them forever. As children, we live in the bliss of possibility and imagination. This is why a lot of our baby shoes have been dipped in bronze, preserving the memory of the infinite possibilities. Children instinctively know this, that they are destined for great things. We say this when we bless our children at the end of our services. Children are blessed, and we know that they are destined for great things. Children come into this world knowing, we all come into this world with that innate knowledge that we are all destined for great things. But then what happens? Life comes along. Life comes along, and those lessons, those things that we come here knowing, somehow get pushed down and suppressed. But we are still destined for great things. So as we grow, I don't know if you did, but I took dancing lessons. I had dancing shoes. I took ballet and tap. And you learn as you're dancing throughout this world and dancing through life that things don't always go as you plan. You know, everybody hears this saying, and I don't always agree with it. They tell you, if you want to make God laugh, just make some plans. I don't think God laughs at us. But very often, the plans that we make don't go as we thought they should go. But we keep on dancing. We keep on dancing because we know that God is still in the midst of it all. God isn't leaving us. We may tap dance a little away from God, but God isn't going anywhere. So we just tap dance ourselves back over to where God is. We know that as we dance through life, we always got God as a dance partner. Let's go to the next slide, please. Can we have the next slide? There we go. Alligator shoes. Now, I specifically said alligator shoes. And I don't know about a lot of people, but I know in the African American culture, when a woman sees a man walk in with some alligator shoes on, you know he's fine. When a brother walks in wearing some gaiters, and he's always dressed, you don't put on gaiters if you're not dressed all the way up. From the floor up, you are dressed. And he always catches the eye of everybody who walks in who sees him. But you got to remember, things don't always turn out to be as they appear to be. When you see somebody who is oozing all of this confidence and all of this charm and all of these good looks, look beneath the surface. Look beneath the surface. It's like a peacock. You know how beautiful peacocks are? When they fan those feathers out, they are so pretty. But don't get too close to a peacock. Because peacocks are not always nice. They will snap at you. They might even chase you sometimes. So don't get fooled by the alligator shoes or what's beautiful on the surface. Always, always, always look beneath. Now that doesn't mean that what's beautiful on the outside isn't beautiful on the inside, but take your time and look beneath that surface, because you just might get bitten. And then there's the stilettos. The stilettos, those real high heels. They again emanate power, self-confidence. But you cannot balance yourself wearing a pair of stiletto heels. Trust me, you cannot. If you have not balanced things within yourself. You've got to have that sense of balance. You've got to understand that if you go too far left or too far right or lean too far forward, you're going to fall. You are going to fall. But when you stay in balance, when you understand that, I don't know if they still do it or not, but when I was younger and started wearing heels, my mother and my grandmothers made me walk with those heels on with a book on my head. And if the book fell, that meant that I might fall. You have to stay in total and complete balance at all times. And our next shoes are the shoe shine shoes. In the book, The Metaphysics of Shoes, which was written by a Unity minister, Reverend Charlene E. Manuel, she tells a story about a 13-year-old boy. On his 13th birthday, his father took him for his very first professional shoe shine. Shining your shoes is a metaphysical symbol of maturity, of opening up, of awakening to your truth. You get polished up because that inner light is starting to come forward. That light of God is shining through from you to the world. And then she tells another story about some footprints in the snow. And I wondered, why did you put this in a book about shoes? Because it's just about footprints. But when I read the story, I recognized why she did it. The story is about two little girls. The older sister had a pair of boots. The younger sister did not. And they always got in trouble for being late for school during the winter because in an effort to help keep the baby sister's feet dry, the older sister would make footprints in the snow and wait for the little sister to put her feet in those footprints so her feet would stay dry. And the metaphysical meaning of that is to always be willing to set an example for others to follow in your footsteps as you follow guidance from Holy Spirit. Stop, listen to the guidance that comes within from the indwelling Christ, from the Holy Spirit. And as you do that, and you make those footprints in the snow, you are leading the way for others to follow in those metaphysical footsteps, to find their own way to the Christ. And then, we are sometimes in positions where we want to judge, but we've always heard that saying, walk a mile in his shoes. When you put on somebody else's shoes, you don't have to literally put their shoes on, but before we make a judgment, before we criticize, before we decide that someone is not worthy of our time or our agape love, walk a mile in their shoes. Those shoes may be too big for you to comprehend, or they may be so tiny and so tight that you can't even get your big toe in. You don't know someone else's journey. Therefore, do not judge. Even when their actions are, in your perception, totally and completely despicable, withhold that judgment. And know and understand that even though they may not see it, every individual we encounter is Christ on earth. That Christ is within everyone, even though they may not recognize it, may not see it, and may even sometimes make deliberate efforts to bury it even deeper. We know this. We know that we are one with everyone on this planet. And what we choose to see in others is a reflection of what we are and who we are. And then, of course, there's the lucky shoes. Those shoes that we know that whenever we put them on, something good's going to happen. A lot of athletes have those superstitions. When we believe the best for ourselves, when we believe and know that we know that we know that whatever happens in my life is for my highest good, and we claim that for others, those are the metaphysical lucky shoes. Don't ever leave your lucky shoes behind. Ever, ever, ever. Always remember, everything unfolds for your highest good. Even when you don't see it right then and there, understand that it is for your highest good. You'll grow from it. Sometimes you understand that when something happens, oh, I'll never do that again. But then that's for your highest good because it's a lesson learned. And there are times when you walk away with bloody shoes. The blood on the shoes represents an error thinking, a misstep. Bloody shoes represent those times when we step away from guidance of Holy Spirit. Those incidences when we step away from God. God who is always right here, right with us at all times. Like I said, God doesn't go anywhere, but we do occasionally step away. And we know when we step back in to harmony with our Creator, all is well. But that's how the shoes get bloody. And then sometimes we just break a heel on a shoe, whether we're male or female. That broken heel represents our misuse, if you will, of the law of attraction. In unity, we know we are co-creators with God. In unity, we know the law of attraction is what you think about, you bring about. So if you start to concentrate and dwell on things that are not for our highest good, in other words, let's put it this way. You're in a position where you're in an employment situation that you're not happy with. And rather than bless that situation and understand that at this particular point in time in your journey, this is where you're supposed to be and do your best, you start, first of all, by thinking, I don't want to be here. I don't like it here. I don't like the people here. One of two things is going to eventually happen. Either you're going to get fired. Well, three things. You're going to get fired. You just get so totally dissatisfied, you'll decide to quit. Or there's going to be a downsizing. You will find yourself out of a job, which serves its purpose because it enables you to pay your bills. So rather than curse it, bless it, and know and affirm that another better position is on the horizon, and claim a better employment situation rather than complain about what you've already got. You'd be surprised and amazed at how that turns around for you. Then there's the bowling shoes. I'm going to tell you the truth. I have gone bowling. I'm not good at it. But the symbol of a bowling shoe represents that competitive nature, that spirit of competition. Now, some of us may have varying degrees of it, but on one level or another, we all have a sense of competition at one time or another in our lives. But always, always, always remember this. It's an old adage, but it is very, very true. It is not who wins or loses, but it is how you play. Because if we play a game, whatever that game may be, by cheating, lying, stealing just to get what it is we want, we know we are out of alignment with our truth. And you may get it, but it won't last long, and you'll never, ever, ever be happy with it. We talked a little bit last week about Bernie Madoff. He had on his bowling shoes, but he did not play the game fair. And we know where he is. We talked about that. And finally, we've got our royal sandals. I love royal sandals because it's all about love. When we put on our royal sandals, we walk in love. We walk in peace. Our royal sandals carry us. Carry us to peace, carry us to love, carry us to abundance. And 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 3 says this: if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have faith that can move mountains, but if I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all that I possess to the poor and give over everything to hardship, that I may boast. But if I do not have love, I gain nothing. So in essence, no matter how we plan our journey, if our plans do not include love, I mean real agape love, that unconditional love, that love that we know, number one, is in everyone. We claim that love, and we see that love in the eyes of everyone with whom we come into contact. Study love. Let us become a living expression of love. For if your plan does not include love, you're not going to put on those royal sandals. It is incumbent upon all of us to express love and hold the highest good for everyone uppermost in our thoughts. Because this is what creates that state of heaven. We know through our unity teachings that heaven and hell are states of consciousness. And regardless of who we are, where we are, what we're doing, what station we are in life, what we have and what we do not have, we have the capability to walk and live in the conscious state of heaven every single day of our lives. It is up to us to claim it. John 3:1 says this, and I'm going to close with this one, and I want you to keep it in mind. Carry it with you all week long. See what great love the Father has lavished on us, that we should be called children of God, because that is what we are. Amen.